Okay, so the verdict is in. A deal has finally been reached between PLAION and Starbreeze regarding the future of the publishing agreement for Payday 3. To summarize very quickly, because I'm sure a lot of you are already very aware of the deal that existed between PLAION and Starbreeze, PLAION helped fund the marketing for Payday 3 up until the game released back in September 2023, and then continued to financially support the game and its marketing for 18 months after release. That 18 months of post-launch support concluded a little while ago, and we've been waiting to hear whether that deal would be renewed or terminated since then. Now we have a concrete answer, and Starbreeze have fully acquired the publishing rights to Payday 3 from PLAION, meaning that while they won't be receiving any more financial backing from them, Starbreeze is now entirely in control of every aspect of Payday 3's future. What this means is that if Payday 3 has a chance at redemption, the ball is now 100% in Starbreeze's court. I cannot stress this enough, but the way Starbreeze approach the next few months of Payday 3 support is quite literally what will make or break the game. We don't, and likely never will, have a true understanding of how much PLAION's involvement hindered or supported Starbreeze's ability to deliver consistent updates. But we will likely be able to draw some conclusions on that in the near future. Currently, we don't know if PLAION were the people holding Payday 3 back, or if it was their contracted support that kept Starbreeze working on the game. I'm hopeful that it was the former, as I understand the new CEO has already expressed interest in increasing the amount of investment in Payday 3, and I know that Starbreeze representatives have time and time again said that Payday 3 is still one of their main priorities. Now, it really is the time for the company to literally put their money where their mouth is, or more bluntly, put their money where their developers are. If the team behind Payday 3 are given more resources than they currently have, they can put more content into the game. It is just a fact. And players have proven time and time again that the core of the community will come back to try that new content. If that content comes out at a consistent pace and is of a consistent quality, the amount of players that will return each time will increase. I've said this so many times over the year and a half since Payday 3 came out, but the road to a better Payday 3 is a marathon and not a sprint. In fact, that sentiment is ingrained so deeply in the reason I continue to cover Payday 3, even after all we've been through, that it actually appears in my channel's description. If handled well, the decision for Starbreeze to self-publish Payday 3 could very possibly be the decision that takes us all the way to the finish line. I'm not saying that that finish line is in sight, it certainly isn't, but this was a massive step towards it in my eyes. I know a lot of people have drawn the comparison between Payday 3's rocky launch and Payday 2's, while I don't necessarily subscribe to the opinion that just because Payday 2 had a rocky launch and made a comeback, Payday 3 is guaranteed to be able to do the same thing. Payday 2 becoming self-published was something that I understand to have been really important for the game's future success. All of that said though, the three most important words that I've said in this entire video so far have been if handled well. Just because Starbreeze now have complete control over Payday 3's future doesn't guarantee that they know where to take it. The company has built up quite a reputation of mismanagement over the last few years, and it's not like they were well known for hitting the mark every time historically. It's possible that Starbreeze now being in complete control of the game leads them down that avenue of upping content releases enough to satisfy the community that's stuck with the game this long, but not necessarily trying to re-engage the wider community that stepped away. Doing this keeps the game quote-unquote alive enough that there's some form of main game in the series to associate with any licensing agreements or crossovers, be it in another game or another form of media entirely. I think it would be very difficult for Starbreeze to use the Payday IP in the way they want to if their most recent mainline title died the death Payday 3 seems to be facing. Because of that, I think it's incredibly likely that the worst case scenario for Payday 3 isn't that it dies and has its servers switched off, but instead that Starbreeze will try and keep the game trundling along, not even on life support, but something more akin to palliative care. The game would be essentially dead, but they would have to keep it going in order to keep up appearances on behalf of the IP. With that seeming like a depressingly possible outcome, I think we need to be very vigilant as a community and keep an eye out for if this starts to happen. Starbreeze are never going to tell us if their intention is just to keep the game alive for the sake of keeping the game alive, but I'm sure that we will be able to tell, and at that point, point, we'll have to just move on. Either way, I will be here to the end, so if you are enjoying this video and want to keep up to date with Payday 3, all I ask is that you consider subscribing. We're trying to reach 5,000 subscribers before Payday 3's next heist releases in 15 days, and if we reach that goal, I'll be going back to play and review all of the Payday 2 heists that I, as a console player, never got the opportunity to experience. Regardless of when we hit 5,000 subscribers, be it before or after the next heist, I've got some Payday 3 Year 1 codes to give away as well. Those come with the base game, as well as all of the Year 1 DLC. Payday 3 certainly isn't in a place where I would recommend you go out and spend money on it just yet, but I think it's definitely worth checking out if you happen to find a really good sale on, or can get your hands on some codes. My thoughts on Payday 3 as a whole, and whether or not it's worth it, might be about to change though, as we have a major update on the horizon. Update 14 sees the long-awaited addition of Armour 2.0, which I can now tell you I think has been handled very, very well. I've been enjoying playing around with a whole bunch of different builds, and I know that Noli has released a video in which he covers some of his favourites. I won't be doing that in this video because I simply haven't found my favourite yet. So far, I've been meddling with a whole bunch of different setups and playstyles, and it's not just the armour type that I've been messing around with. Using certain armour frames, such as the 4-plate mercenary frame, means that I rarely find myself with only a single plate of armour left. As such, I've begun to steer away from my pretty much solely assassin skill line based style of play, in favour of different ways to play the game. I think this, accompanied with some of the other changes in this update, like the increased special spawn count and overall harder feeling enemies, put me in a position where I was actually experimenting with my builds for the first time in probably over a year. The game will be seeing a noticeable difficulty increase. You can see from the gameplay you've been watching throughout this video that there are significantly more enemies, as well as other changes that you might have noticed too. Oh, and a nice touch in update 14 is that you can assign a particular heister and choice of cosmetic to each build you create, essentially bringing back the build profiles that you had in Payday 2. I'll save talking to you about everything included in update 14 for a slightly later date. For now though, I wanted to ask your opinion on something quite important. With this update, Starbreeze have taken a slightly different approach by allowing creators to do a little bit more than just play the update early. Now, we're allowed to make content about certain elements of the update before it releases. Armour 2.0 is something I can freely discuss and plan to do so within the next few days. I wanted to know what you make of this. How do you feel about video content being released on upcoming updates before the update is publicly available? Do you typically not care whether you watch videos on an update before you have a chance to play it for yourself, or do you avoid spoilers like the plague? I think it would be helpful feedback from the community, but I'm asking out of my own curiosity above all else. So let me know in the comments section down below. If you're interested in a full breakdown of Armour 2.0 and a peek at the Party Powder heist releasing on May 26th, you can click the video on the left hand side of your screen. Or if you'd like to learn more about Den of Wolves, the upcoming heisting game from 10 Chambers, which I recently had the opportunity to play early in their offices in Sweden, you can click the video on the right. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.